This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 56. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak, brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com. Your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Scott.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
That was so close I completely forgot. I was like, at the last minute I'm clicking
Don't give it away. See, you don't have to give it away.
I have to be honest with our listeners here, you know? I'm not
I
a
don't know
shyster.
what I'm doing.
We have to be like magicians. We can't reveal our secrets, so it sounds
Where are
good.
the engineers?
I really sawed all those women in half.
Hey, Jamie, I have to tell you about your D monocle that on the forum, John changed his signature, and he is now copyrighted and trademarked Johnny D.
Yeah,
With the threat of goons.
yeah. We'll see about that. That little punk ass, I'm gonna kick his ass.
Before we get started here, I want to remind everyone of our September contest, which is sponsored by Tomorrow's Publishing. Send us a picture of yourself or someone you know or love or hate or whatever in front of some sign that is somehow comic book related, you know, Lee's Dry Cleaning or anything like that that has a comic book name related in it. And include in that picture you holding a piece of paper or something that says Comic Geek Speak, so you know you took it expressly for the purpose of this contest. And include, if you will, a prop, so that, you know, something that has something to do with the sign which you're taking a picture of. And the prize, courtesy of Tomorrow...
The
And
sign
you need to
which
wear a
you were
propeller.
taking the picture of.
Hey, you want to do this next time?
Bring on, hey, I'll take over the show. Let's go.
I knew that was coming.
The prize is, courtesy of Tomorrow's Publishing, a subscription to your choice of either Back Issue Magazine or Alter Ego Magazine, and we will pick what we think is the best picture, and then that's the winner, and they get the prize, and that's that. Also a reminder that our September Book of the Month Club selection is Fables Volume 1, Legends in Exile, by Bill Willingham. And you can get that at instocktrades.com for a whopping 40% off, which brings it to a grand total of $6. So if you'd like to play along, go pick one up. And now the show. What are you doing, guys?
Read some emails.
Okay, I'll read some
Yes,
emails.
that's right. You heard us. We're going to read some emails.
They may be a little stale, but they still taste good.
This is from Kyle. He says, first off, let me apologize in case you've called a moratorium on all Comic-Con stories. But he wanted to go ahead and give us some thoughts anyway. He says, sorry I missed out at the big gathering at 3 o'clock on Saturday. I was knee-deep in the Serenity panel with Joss Whedon and couldn't get away. I saw what I assume was Brian and Tasha wearing the CGS shirts coming out of Horton Plaza on Thursday, just as I and my wife were coming in. But you looked to be in a hurry, and I wanted some food. I figured I'd catch up with you later, now that I knew what you looked like. Little did I know what the weekend crowds would be. I can't believe he didn't say hi. I'm so disappointed. I mean, we kept talking all 4 days. I wonder if someone will see us or buy our shirts. I wonder if someone does, and they don't say anything. Damn it.
Yeah, well.
There's always next year.
I bet you they will in Baltimore.
Well, I hope so.
I hope so.
It's a much smaller show, too, so
Right.
the odds are much higher.
Right.
Yeah. He says, you talked a bit about standing around like an idiot while an artist does a sketch for you. And I have to admit to it myself. The first sketch I ever got was from John Romita Jr. on Free Comic Book Day. And I was so completely starstruck that I could barely even ask him for a headshot of the thing. Then I stood there, dumbstruck as he went to work. Even my wife stood off to the side, motioning me like, well, now's your chance. But I stood silently by and squeaked out a thanks before vamoosing. I felt like I had such an opportunity slip by that I vowed to never... Greta, shut up. The dog is whining. I was like, is somebody's cell phone going off? I was all pissed, and then it's my dog
I thought
whining.
Peter was doing something.
Would you lay down? There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon the interruption.
Look
be the same without it.
That's right. Oh, man. See, this is why we'll never be on TV. I don't even know where I was. He says, okay, flash forward to July, and I'm sitting with artists left and right. I had to talk to A.L. Garza a few times before I could convince him to do a Stephanie Robbins sketch for a friend. I explained to Leonard Kirk why an announcement page for Anita Moorhead was actually a dirty joke while he sketched a power woman, inked and all. I even got to have a real conversation with Cheeks, the artist on Teen Titans Go, who has become one of my new favorites. But it's not just me. My wife only reads a handful of comics and only in trade form, much like Brian. But she's especially sensitive to artists. It doesn't matter how good the plot is if she doesn't like the art. And she loves Loeb's Sale's The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. So when I spotted Tim Sale doing sketches, I put her right in the line. It filled my geek heart with love to see her gushing to Tim how much she loves his work and having him tell her he's the same way with artists and recommend she read Spider-Man Blue. It was a genuine Comic-Con moment, and we have a sweet Poison Ivy sketch hanging on our wall to remember it. And I'm just going to kind of skip around here. He talks to myself. He says, also, I wanted to thank Jamie for clearing up some confusion for me. I didn't make it to the Goon panel. I only got in at the very end, but I did get to meet the guys from Reno 911, who were very cool and generous in terms of pictures and autographs. But what I couldn't understand is why, while I was having them sign a DVD cover, the people around me were getting small pieces of wood signed. One guy even borrowed my Sharpie to get his shard signed. I wondered if it was some kind of Reno in-joke I had missed. Thanks for explaining about the broken chair. At least that mystery was solved. I think that's enough for now. I have more tales to tell, like why there wasn't anyone getting the Superman actors' autographs, or what I overheard Dan DiDio saying to Glenn Fabry, or witnessing the power of Charisma Carpenter. If you're interested or wanting to do a final nail-in-the-coffin episode about Comic-Con, let me know. Well, now, of course we want to know what Dan DiDio was saying to Glenn Fabry. Yeah. I mean, come on. He's tickling our ass with a feather
Carpenter.
Yeah, what about Charisma Carpenter?
Yeah,
Me too.
Yes.
I didn't even realize she was there. Jeez.
No.
Glenn who? What? Charisma?
Which Superman actors were there?
We're talking about somebody else other than Charisma?
Kidder. It was Margot Kidder, Sarah Douglas, the Mark McClure, the guy who played the big dumb.
Non.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much
Ursa
it.
was there?
Yeah.
Wasn't that?
Yes, Sarah Douglas.
Oh. I wonder what she looks like now. This is
Older.
over 20 years ago.
Yeah. She doesn't look bad. I saw some pictures when she was at the Superman Festival at Metropolis, Illinois.
Right.
And she didn't look bad. She still looks good. Better than Margot Kidder.
Oh, sorry, Margot.
Harsh. All right, next email. This one's signed from Justin Credible. It's just kind of funny. Anyway, hey guys, Ultimate Spider-Man and your show really helped me get back into comics after a long layoff. I stopped reading comics after the Spider-Man Clone Saga. And I was just wondering, what are the best Brian Michael Bendis books? I'd like to get them. I'd like to get all the trade paperbacks. And for the record, I was into the trade paperbacks before Mr. Deemer got on his TP-only kick. Thanks for your time, Justin Credible. Wow. Well, I'll tell you that the first Bendis that I read was when he wrote Sam and Twitch for Image, which was the two characters from the two detectives from the Spawn series, and it was great crime fiction, and that's what turned me on to Bendis. And we just bought Jinx, the enormously fat trade paperback at Comic-Con, actually, I think for $5. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but that's supposed to be very good, and so is Goldfish. Right?
Yeah. Both of those are very good. Jinx, I really love. That's something. That was one of those. As fat as it is, I sat there and read the whole thing in one shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't put it down. I read through the whole thing in one deal. And that's actually one where he did the art too.
Yeah, and the Jinx character actually showed up in Sam and Twitch then later on. In fact, I just put my Sam and Twitches on eBay this morning. Of course, by the time this episode airs, the auction will be over. The guy can't win it.
But those are good.
What about was it someone who sent us an email or something like that where they said Fortune and Glory is like one of the is the funniest book they ever read? Anybody read that book?
No.
By Bendis?
No, I did not.
No.
Well, Wasn't Fortune and Glory the name of a Chaikin book in the Malibu run?
It was Power and Glory.
Oh,
Yeah,
Power and
Power
Glory.
and Glory.
Okay.
Yeah, because whoever that guy, I was like, wow, really, the funniest book he's ever read. So, thought about
It's
checking
supposed to
that
be
out.
like a tell-all book on how you get a movie made in Hollywood type deal. That's what I've heard about it. As far as Bendis goes, I really liked Torso.
Oh, yeah, that's another one. I
And
hadn't read that one
that's
either
basically a comic telling of a case that happened in Chicago with Elliot Ness of the Untouchables, and it was basically his case after the Untouchables closed down and they got Capone. And it's really good if you like real crime story type stuff. It was good, and he throws a little bit of his own conjectures in about who did what and so on and so forth. But it's still pretty good.
yet. All right.
That
Anybody
actually
else?
sounds interesting. I never heard of that one.
Yeah, that's on my to-read pile. That's the only trade that I have of Bendis that I didn't read yet.
And of course, there's Powers.
Powers is awesome.
That was actually the thing that got me to realize who Brian Michael Bendis was, and then I kind of went back and started getting some of the other stuff.
All right, next one from Lee Stephen in London. Just a quick mail to say hi. Got into your podcast since my iTunes got updated. I'm working my way through your old episodes. I'm now listening to your show while walking around town or working out in the gym. Really enjoyed the one on the boom and bust of the 90s. That's when I stopped buying comics. I remember walking into Forbidden Planet near where I was at art school in London and being overwhelmed by the array of holographic variant covers and the shitty cartoon porno art. After listening to your show, I now know what was going on. One suggestion. Have you covered the 80s color indie boom? There was First Comics, American Flag, John Sable, and Pacific Grew. Just an idea. Anyway, time to go. Keep up the good work. From Lee Stephen in London. Well, we did talk about that now in the indie episode. You want to talk about American Flag, Scott?
Yes, I do. So everybody just sit back and listen. No.
But
I
love
John
it.
Sable. I love American
Yeah.
Flag. I love John Sable. I have like full runs of both of them. It's great stuff. It really is.
I'm just reading back issue number 10, and there's a Howard Chaykin interview in there, and he's a crazy guy, man.
Yeah, he's a very
I'll tell
interesting
you what.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never realized just how detrimental the 90s were. I mean, I knew a lot of it sucked, but I stuck through it and kept getting certain things. But boy, to hear all these stories of everyone stopping.
That's what I was
Stuff
thinking.
in the 90s.
You know, you
Wow.
start listening, how many people stopped buying books in the 90s.
And there's that whole list on the board of people, like, what got you out the 90s, the 90s.
Here's one more from Dominic. Hey guys, I must say, keep up the good work on the podcast. I enjoy it thoroughly. Luckily for me, I found your podcast late, so I have plenty to look forward to. Favorite thus far is the Fantastic Four special. Still won't go to see it. DVD will cool the blow of a disappointing movie. To sum it up, if you saw the sideshow Dr. Doom they had on display in San Diego, enough said. Keep up the good work. It is my favorite podcast to listen to while at work. I love that everyone is secretly listening to us while they're pretending to be working. Just like I'm posting on the forum all day while I'm supposed to be working. I hope my boss doesn't listen to this podcast. I'll be screwed. Then we will start charging for the show. Did you see a Dr. Doom thing at the convention, Jamie? I don't remember that.
I'm not sure exactly if he was talking Sideshow as in the company or what exactly he was talking about.
Maybe. I
mean, there's a new Doctor Doom statue, I think, from Sideshow Collectibles, but it's not the movie version. It's still a comic version. It's not very nice. I wasn't impressed by it at all, but that's the only one I'm aware of.
Yeah, should I do more, or we have enough for the day?
One more.
All right, one more. Okay. This one is from Ian Levenstein. It's just a long one. I was hoping I'd get one short, and then I got a long one. Hello there, fellow comic nerds, geeks, dweebs, etc. I know it's called Comic Geek Speak, but I figured I would cover all ground just to be on the safe side. Anyhow, just wanted to send an email over to you to let you know how much I've been enjoying your podcast. I discovered it through the Bat feed a couple of months ago, and have since done my best to listen to as many of the podcasts as possible. I especially enjoyed your Book of the Month Club discussion on Crisis, and your show devoted to Batman Begins. Well, job well done, people. And now to the questions. What is your take on the current House of M storyline going through the Marvel books? Is it just another marketing ploy, or will this crossover event actually matter? Seems to me that DC has been doing a much better job with the crossovers for years now, and is doing it again with Infinite Crisis, which I'm enjoying muchly. And House of M might be the first Marvel one I've enjoyed since Age of Apocalypse. Well, I don't know how much we want to say for spoiler purposes, but has anyone actually even in this room even read all of the House of M issues thus far?
No.
Yeah.
You have? And James?
I've
Scott,
read.
Scott and Jamie have.
Yeah, I've read up to, I guess, whatever one came in my my books this month. It's
6 is tomorrow. 6 comes out.
okay. Yeah, so it's
6
5.
comes out this week. So
Yeah, so I guess I had read 1 through 4.
Is it what he's saying? Does it feel like you need to get the other? I know, Jamie, you commented kind of on that before.
Well, it's just one of those where you get the story, and it feels like you're just not getting everything. I didn't. We got some posts that said I didn't understand it. It's not that I didn't understand it. It's just that I felt that to totally understand it, you did need to read some of the other bits that were out there. I also, the only book that I currently am reading that crosses into that is the Incredible Hulk, because like all the there's also Thunderbolts, but I haven't read that issue yet. But Incredible Hulk, it just seemed all of a sudden snap your fingers and he was in the middle of another world, and you really didn't need to read, what I'm reading there. I didn't need to read the main series because it really didn't have anything to do with it. So I didn't need to read that to understand the series. So I guess maybe that answers it. You don't need to read every single little bit. Although if you read it all, I guess it'll be a much larger picture because it seems to encompass the entire Marvel Universe.
Without spilling any beans, do you feel that it's an important crossover?
It's been done before.
Okay.
And that was called Heroes Reborn.
Some people have also likened it to Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah. I mean, Age of Apocalypse, you're going to go for what they did with the X books, putting them in a totally different world. Heroes Reborn,
Right.
again, a new world with new things. So I think it's been done before.
Is it because you need to read, like they have crossovers into the regular series, but then they also have limited series, like, the Fantastic Four House of M, Spider-Man House of M. Are maybe those, I know you probably haven't read them, but maybe those are more important?
It's possible. I don't know. Did you read any of them, Scott?
No.
read the Spider-Man House of M, the ones that have come out so far. I've read the Fantastic Four. I haven't read the Iron Man. I was paging through them, and the way it looked, I just couldn't get into reading the whole things. So I basically read the Fantastic Fours. They add things, but they're not essential either. There's so much. You could read the House of M, and I understand it, and it's a story. But if you read some of the other books, if you read the Hulk along with it, if you read the Black Panther cross-in, that adds a lot. So there's stuff really added in the crossovers, but I don't think you need to read them. That's it.
And now they're soliciting something called decimation. And the
Yeah.
M in decimation is the same M from House of M, the same design. And supposedly, and now this is now the day after the worst day of their life. House of M is supposedly the worst day, or Chaos was the worst day.
The day after the day
now
after.
It's the day after. I don't know.
Basically, it's a shitty week then.
It just really feels like we've said it before. It feels like they're playing catch up. Just feels like they're trying.
Somebody on the boards today said, if DC pulls off 52, that next Marvel will come out with 365 and have a comic a day for an entire year.
It's funny that like so many people are so worried about the pricing for 52 and oh my God, it's weekly. Da da da. And it's like, why is it any different than you just picking up an extra back issue a week, or we've always been saying God, we can't wait a month. Now you got a week. It's like perfect. Isn't this perfect? I mean,
yeah.
in the
I'm not worried about it at all.
Especially with the 4 miniseries right now. What's the difference?
It just takes over. You can even say 5 if you include Donna Troy's.
Yeah. It's that mentality is all it really is. It's sitting there
Tearing it
thinking
down
about it, that you
before.
know about it, you're aware of it, you're planning ahead for it, realizing it's a 52-issue miniseries coming out once a week. and it's starting to compute. You're starting to put the numbers together. Oh, $3 a book possibly for 52 weeks. Wow, that's that's an extra 12 something a month. Like and that's all it is. Like you say, you probably wouldn't. If it was put in other formats, you probably wouldn't think about it as much. But thinking about it as a full, inclusive 52 issue miniseries, that it's putting that mentality that people are starting to use that as a calculate what it's going to cost them to buy and read this series, and realize that it's going to cost them an extra $12 a month possibly to read this series. So it's something that is brought up. I just think because it's just kind of one of those mentality things. It's
because it's new. It's like an experiment, and of course
exactly.
everybody wants to poop on it before it comes out.
I think it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that DC has shown by not announcing the price yet that clearly they're trying to figure out how to make it as affordable as possible. I certainly don't think it's going to be any more than $2.50. I think they're going to try to zero in on the $2 mark, but they might. If it's $2.50, that's still 50 cents cheaper than most of their books, and that's fine.
If it was $2.99, like what they do with Legion right now, but Legion is also like 28 pages, or it's not the usual 21, 22 pages. It's actually a little more. If it was an extended comic and it was $2.99, I still would get it, and I would not complain one bit about it.
Have they made mention of page count? That's what.
No.
Not that I know of.
No.
Because I was wondering if maybe they'd make it a smaller book, and just make it like $1.99 each week, every week. But then once you put all of them together, it would be maybe like a 48-page or something like that. Where at $2 a piece, you aren't feeling like you're spending that much.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I don't know. With all the writers and the artists involved, I'm just make it a book. Who cares? I'm just make it a regular book, regular price. Do what you need to do.
It appears to me that way, that it's going to be like a regular comic. They're not looking at it as trying to make it smaller or bigger or anything like that. It's just another comic each week.
Just make it good.
And 22 pages.
Well, that's why I think it'll be $2.50, because they still have some $2.50 books, right?
Yeah.
A couple of them, whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what it's going to be.
It'll come in at $2.50, and
yeah, that's my prediction. It'll be.
We'll get it for a lot less than that. And
no, I'll be going to the store to get it every week.
Yeah, so will I.
I'll read your copy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wait for mine to show up in the mail.
Trade.
Yeah.
Well, as a perfect segue, we're going to start something in this episode, and we'll try to keep it consistent throughout most of the episodes. It actually was an idea of Matt's.
Which is odd because
he's
so out there.
So he said, how about doing a countdown to Infinite Crisis, and not DC's countdown, but doing a countdown and an explanation of all of the major DC events up to Infinite Crisis, and including Identity Crisis. And with the idea of, just like taking a few minutes to showcase them in order, what they were about, and how they may tie to Infinite Crisis, because I think they're dipping back into every single event they did, and they're trying to throw bits and pieces in. This may contain one or two things you might not know if you haven't read it. Most of the events aren't earth-shattering, so you're not really you're not really losing out if you listen in.
No, they're earth-shattering.
Earth-shattering, yeah.
Only with Crisis.
Right. So the first one, obviously the big one, is Crisis on Infinite Earths, but we've talked about that in the Book of the Month Club. In fact, that was our first episode. So you can go back and you can listen to most of our opinions who were there for that episode. You can go ahead and just listen to that. So we're actually going to start with the next two. We're going to start with Legends, which came out in 1986, and we're going to talk about Millennium, which came out in the end of 87, beginning of 88, or maybe it was 88, 89, something like that. As an overview of Legends, they wanted something smaller than Crisis. They just had this huge earth-shattering event. So for Legends, they wanted something smaller. They only had, 22 heroes star in it, 10 villains, and it says 3 super teams. And it was a way to really kind of bring the readers into this new one fused Earth that they just created. It was written by John Ostrander and Len Wein, with gorgeous artwork from Byrne and inked by Kessel. And it was a plan. It was basically Darkseid came up with a plan to discredit the heroes in the face of public opinion and things like that. And there was this huge presidential ban on superheroes, and that was the aspect that tied into the other crossovers, into the other books. They called them actually chapters, which in my mind kind of was like a way to make people buy the other ones, because it wasn't just a crossover. They were calling them chapters, so it was almost like you had to read them. And some you kind of did, some you didn't. So that was basically the overall story. And of course, the heroes eventually rally and save the day. I think probably I'll throw this to those of you who are really big Byrne fans. It must have been so cool to see Byrne do all these DC characters, because here he was just coming over doing Superman, and boom, right away he's right into Legends. So I can imagine that probably was a big yay, look at that. Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was Kevin and I were looking at each other. It was nice. Byrne did threw a lot of guest stars into the Man of Steel miniseries, and then once that was done, he started with the action. He turned Action Comics into the team up type book, where he got to play with a lot of the different other heroes that he wanted to play with. Just trying to throw some out. Green Lantern, he did a Big Barda, Mr. Miracle, Demon. He created Checkmate using Action Comics.
Phantom Stranger,
Teen Titans, a whole bunch of like. So this was like the Legends was kind of his springboard into going in and putting his mark on some of the different characters. And the big thing was at the end they relaunched Justice League, so that was the big thing with Legends.
It's a 6-issue miniseries. You can definitely find it in the 50-cent bin. It's also traded. I don't know how if it's still. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. The crossovers, there were quite a few of them. You don't necessarily need them, but I can say that while you're reading the miniseries, there are some stories that aren't finished in the miniseries. They take them into other books. Not only did it spawn Justice League, but it also spawned the new Wally West Flash series and Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, which was by John Ostrander. Flash was by Mike Baron. And as far as a miniseries, an event goes, it wasn't bad. It wasn't. I don't think the ending kind of lived up to what it should have been, but it kind of got the point that they wanted. And if all they wanted to do was springboard these new series, well, that certainly happened because those new series were quite popular.
I enjoyed it. I think one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much was I did enjoy Byrne on it, and I thought Ostrander did a great job tying all the DC characters together in one crossover event. But I liked it because it was short and sweet. It was 6-issue miniseries, and then it tied into the other parts of it, and then led into the other, and it was very enjoyable. It wasn't something that seemed to drag out and seemed like there was a lot of filler or things in there to just, extend the story or make it more than that. It was to the point. Everything was covered. It didn't seem like it was skipped or run over, anything like that. It was paced very well. It was an enjoyable read, and it was great to see Byrne doing all those characters together and seeing all those characters together and before they launched Justice League again and such. So I highly recommend it.
I think one of the things that it also did was it showed Byrne's love of Jack Kirby's Fourth World characters, using Darkseid and I guess it was Glorious Godfrey and
Glorious Godfrey.
What was the sister's name? His sister, I can't think of it.
Amazing Grace.
Amazing Grace, that's right. And
the one that he created in the Superman books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just going with that, and then full circle, Byrne taking over and doing a Jack Kirby's Fourth World book. It's, you kind of see his love of those characters.
Just real briefly, because I haven't read the interview, but if you are out there collecting back issue number 9 from Tomorrow's Publishing, has a great article. It's one of their greatest stories never told. It's on Crisis of the Soul. That was actually supposed to be the sequel for Crisis on Infinite Earths, but then it eventually got morphed into Legends. So if you ever want to read what they really started out doing, check out back issue number 9. I unfortunately have not read it, the article, but it was supposed to be Jerry Ordway. It was a little more cosmic than Legends is, and it's pretty cool. So you might want to check that out, back issue number 9.
I have a question for you, Peter. Brian and me were looking at what the hell did you do to this book, man? It's all bent up.
I don't know. The next one we're going to talk about, and what Shane's alluding to, is Millennium. And there's actually 2 Millennium indexes, which I never knew, and I picked them up at a store. At a convention.
Yeah, I never knew that they were out.
Yeah, that's why they're all banged up. Millennium, this was about it's kind of funny. It basically was the premise that humanity was going to evolve into this next kind of thing, whether they're going to be superheroes or whatever. And for the next millennium, they were supposed to be the precursors to what eventually would be this immortal race and blah, 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 blah.
Weren't they supposed to take over for the Guardians? I mean, the premise was they were going to evolve
Right.
into
Like this
the
was- yep.
new Guardians.
Yep. Eventually down, after a millennium or even more than that, they were going to eventually become the same thing like the Guardians of the Universe were. This was a miniseries by Steve Englehart, Joe Staton, Ian Gibson. 8 issues. It came out weekly, which was that aspect was kind of cool. Didn't quite live up to what an event I felt. I felt some of the backstory. Basically, what they did was they took a character in every book that they published, most every book that they published, and they said, okay, we need you to find one of your characters, one of your supporting characters, and you need to make them into a Manhunter sleeper agent. The Manhunters are an old Green Lantern foe. So that was kind of cool, because then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, which one are they going to make in the new books, or in the books? Which one? Well, who's going to be a traitor or whatever? Blah 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 blah.
That aspect really attracted me because that was the first crossover. I got into comics real heavily right after Legends with Justice League, and then this came out, and I was very attracted to that because I love the mystery of who's it going to be,
Right.
And I was all for it, but then, like you said, it kind of like poofed.
Yeah, because then the whole thing was like the heroes were running around trying to protect these 8 chosen. There was like 7 or 8 chosen people from all over the world that the Guardians came down to kind of teach, and they were going to lead the way. And all of a sudden, it became like this big rat race to try to defend and protect them. And the story, kind of by the end, it was, it wasn't as. I didn't enjoy it as much. You have something?
Basically, the only thing I can really remember, I read the whole thing. I can remember is just it was all like a booty call for the Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Universe, because they went off with those great looking Amazon chicks, and that's all they wanted to do was have sex. So that's all I remember about the whole thing.
Yeah, well, that's right, because they were that's the reason why they came to Earth, because they were going away to go have sex.
Yeah, they're going away to go have sex.
So they needed to say, hey, humanity, you need to watch the store while I go out for a bit.
Do you think it would have been more interesting or better if they would have chosen? Maybe not B-stringers, but supporting known characters as the Chosen, not these like newcomers.
Not Floronic Man?
Yeah.
What's the matter with him?
Well, he's about the only one.
I mean, and they kind of alluded to that because one of the Chosen was supposed to be Terra from Teen Titans, and they're like, oh, but she's dead, and they were like, oh, she's dead? Don't. We immortal, we're so omniscient, we didn't know she was dead. I didn't buy that. I was like, huh? And that's why Floronic Man came in. There were some neat things about it that kind of, they brought the whole Manhunter thing back to the DC universe. You got some good stories here and there, but as a whole, and like I said, it was kind of neat to see who the traitor was, or the spy in your midst. But it just wasn't, wasn't my cup of tea. In fact, it's the reason why I got out of comics. And I read this, and I actually stopped reading comics for about a couple years.
Blasphemo.
I know. I was like, what am I reading? The thing I wanted to say that how I feel it ties to Infinite Crisis is obviously all the situation going on with the thousands and millions of Omax kind of remind me of the thousand and millions of Manhunter. So, if they're looking at tying it into past events, that's kind of my thought on that.
It's kind of interesting because there is something going on right now in the Manhunter series itself, with the Manhunters, and somebody's hunting down the old Manhunters, anybody who was a Manhunter, and basically killing them off. And it's a big mystery. I haven't read the latest one,
right.
and I know OMAC is kind of heavily into that. They've just seen like the new cover to the new Manhunter, and it has a big OMAC on the front, so they're kind of tying that in there.
Like, it's just fun. Like for the Wonder Woman crossover. They made Pan, the god Pan, the goat, half goat human. Right. He was a Manhunter, and it was like, what? They actually killed the real god Pan or demigod or whatever the heck he is, and they substituted it, and nobody knew. It was like, it's kind of forced.
I liked Justice League's Manhunter. That was
yeah,
cool.
that was kind of interesting. And there were some characters, like there was a character in Green Lantern that you were like, who is this? And they finally gave him, to be one of the Manhunters. Like, okay, well, that's a good way to get rid of him. Same thing with Outsiders. There was a character in there. So, again, you can find it in 50-cent bins. I'm sure you can find all the crossovers. I sold mine on eBay, way back. So those are after Crisis. Those were the first 2 events. So
I have to say, those little cards you have, I forgot. I have one of the Millennium ones. I
checklist
forgot
cards,
about
yeah.
them. Yeah, they were cool.
So if you see them, pick them up. I mean, I think they're certainly worth a read if you want to know where DC went with their events. I would say pick them up. That'll be to be continued in a future podcast. We'll look at 2 more.
Speaking of events, I just last night finished reading Secret Wars for the first time.
Yeah, you said you were on your way to read. What'd you think?
I liked it. It was cool. I think bumping the microphone. I really liked some of the things they did with Doctor Doom and everything. Again, adding dimension to that character that is not always there, and I was very pleased with the whole experience.
I think it's worth a book of the month eventually down the road somewhere, maybe.
I think so.
Oh, it's a classic Marvel thing, and it certainly had some heavy-duty impacts on the Marvel Universe, if only for one aspect of it. But we'll definitely talk about that later. Yeah.
It was exciting. I mean, as far as the first, I mean, technically that really is the first official crossover in crossover event in comics, and I can remember being very excited about getting. In fact, I missed an issue, and I couldn't find it for years. It was number 4. It was the one with the Hulk on the cover, holding up the mountain, And I was like, when you read 5, I was like, what happened? Oh my God! And for years, I never read it, and I finally got it. I was like, wow.
Cool. It was good. And the issues, I like the way they did it, whereas they were missing from Earth.
Right.
So the issues of those characters that were missing was like everybody's kind of like, where did and you had these supporting characters or other heroes would come in and kind of pick up the slack when they were gone, and there were some interesting things done with it. So It was very well done.
Cool.
And I just picked up the trade recently, and that's why I just read it now. So the trade is available. So. All right. Shane?
All right. I have a couple of things on toys. Star Wars has some new stuff that's hitting stores. The new Unleashed figures, which feature Darth Vader, Yoda, and the Emperor doing a lightsaber battle. And I can't pronounce this name correctly. Aegis something. She's from the Clone Wars, and kind of like an evil Jedi that is fighting all the other Jedi. She fights with 2 swords, but I cannot remember how to pronounce her name. They look great. All the Unleashed figures have been very well done and very popular. And for those people that missed out on the first round of Darth Vader, it's not exactly the same or anything. But
I know I got
still
so excited. I was in Walmart the other day, and I went, "Oh my God, Darth Vader Unleashed!" And I looked at it, and it was a different pose. I was like, "Oh, it's not the one I want."
That's what I even thought. I'm like, "Oh, is this the one that?" Oh, wait, no, it's different.
I mean, it's cool, but it's not.
It's not the
first
same.
one, because on the first one, Darth Vader's got his leg like up on a thing.
It looks like it's almost from Bespin, where he's like
he's got like his fist up, and it's awesome. And this was not.
You meddling kids, get out of my yard!
And I would have got away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
And your damn dog too.
Your
Evolution figures, they are special 3-packs. The one with Anakin has been out for a while. That one's okay. I was more excited for the Clone Trooper to Stormtrooper, and what they did was took a Clone Trooper from the Attack of the Clones, a Clone Trooper from Revenge of the Sith, and then a Sand Trooper from A New Hope to kind of show the evolution of the characters. And it comes with a lot of neat accessories. They also have a Sith package, which has a Darth Maul, a Dooku, and an Emperor, and really the neat one in there is the Emperor because of the way they have his face and pose. He's so animated in that, but the other figures are kind of bleh. But the Clone Trooper Stormtrooper one's definitely worth it.
Is it just me? Do I just have my head in the wrong place when I hear Dooku, and if you rearrange the letters for Sith, that you get shit? I mean, is that just me? Is it just me? I mean, what?
Duty shit.
All right, I'll sit back.
Get out of this room.
Also look for some of the variants that are coming out. Black Clone Pilot's been out for a little bit, as well as the Green Clone Trooper. The really neat one, which is actually in the movie, is a variant of the number 6 figure, which is the Clone Trooper with some kind of spring-loaded action, where he's modeled after the 50. I think it's the 501st Clone Trooper Battalion or something that were marching somewhere in the movie. I can't exactly remember where, but that's kind of a neat paint job. The next toys that I have to talk about are the Crypto the Superdog toys. For any kids, I picked some of these up for my boys for Christmas. They're modeled after the cartoon that's on Cartoon Network.
What about the one that you showed us that was out of the package you were playing with?
Yeah, that's mine. That's Ace the Bat Hound.
Okay.
So that one's
So
mine.
you bought it for yourself,
I bought one
too.
for me, and then I bought a few of the others for the boys. There's a 2-pack of Superdog and Kevin, who is his owner, and that one is $17.99. Kevin talks.
Only
It's
on the show, though.
Only on the show. It's a little, well, the figure you press his backpack and he talks. It's a little pricey for a 2-pack. But
Same thing happens on the show.
Ace the Bat Hound comes with 2 of Joker's hyenas and the little bat sled that he rides on. That one's the one I got, and it's pretty cool, although nobody talks on that one. Then they have individual figures of Hot Dog, which is kind of like a Justice League type character, space dog group. Yeah, that's a little hokey, but they have Streaky the Super Cat and an Ace and a Crypto, as well as Mechanicat. So there is a villain, amazingly enough, because nobody ever seems to make villains. There is a ship of Crypto's ship that crash landed on Earth. That's pretty cool, but again, I think it's a little pricey right now. It's $29.99 or $39.99. I can't remember which. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's got some sounds, but for what it is and for the age group, I don't really think it's necessary, and it's really way overpriced for my taste. This is a personal thing on toys. This came up on the Palisades forum, and I saw one on eBay, and that's the one everybody was talking about. If anybody sees these ever, send an email here and let us know, because I'm very curious to see if I can ever find one, and I actually have to talk to the friends I have at Palisades about it. It's a 12-inch beaker, which they called a Mega Muppet, which is a Mega Beaker, and it's half invisible, which they made a smaller version of that in the regular run. And this almost seemed like a few prototypes that leaked out, or possibly whatever company in Japan was making them, or China was making them, and made a couple for himself and is selling them. It's really neat looking, but again, on eBay it went for an outrageous amount of money, and I'm just curious if anybody has seen more than just the one that everybody has talked about, if there's been more out there that someone has seen. The last thing is DC Direct figures. The Secret Origins came out, Batman villains. I picked up Mr. Freeze. It's the only one I picked up, and it's my favorite one. I opened it up and I put him on the shelf. It's really a nice figure, a nice throwback to Mr. Freeze. So now I have all the big baddies from Batman. So if you're debating about getting them, I kind of passed on all the others, but Mr. Freeze is definitely worth getting it. Man-Bat looks pretty good too, but for now I just stuck with Mr. Freeze. Definitely worth looking into getting. And that's my little toy spiel until I find some more new stuff. Definitely.
It's that time, Peter. All right, these questions come to us from Lena from I Read Comics Podcast.
Yum,
What are you
I was
getting
just
your money
listening
ready?
to hers.
Oh, in other words, she's throwing you some softballs. Jesus.
I read these questions. I don't think they're
Ain't
softballs.
Uh-oh. And I forgot, I don't think I put a quarter in for the trivia episode where I accidentally said George's name wrong.
George who?
I'm not saying it.
All right. She says, these questions are all old school style, nothing past the 70s.
What?
Question number 1. Name the members of the Legion of Super Pets and explain where they got their powers.
Oh my God. Crypto, obviously from Krypton, same thing like Superman comes down, yellow sun, Streaky. Streaky got from one of the Kryptonites. I want to say ex-Kryptonite or anti-Kryptonite, one of those two. Beppo, the super monkey, was Jor-El's animal experiment that he sent out in the rocket before Kal-El, and I guess wound up on Earth somehow. And then there's Comet the super horse. And I'll be damned if I know what that. I think it's like a myth. I don't. That one I don't know. In the revamp, well, she said before 70s. So and there's also Prody Prody is the Legion of Superheroes. It's Chameleon Boy's sidekick, like little pet thing, and he wanted to join the Legion of Superheroes. So the only thing is Comet. I don't quite know what that one is.
Okay, here's what she has. Crypto. Came from Krypton in a test rocket. Streaky. Exposed to X-kryptonite radiation. Comet. A centaur named Byron from ancient Greece. A spell caused him to become fully equine, but fully human only when a comet was in the sky. Beppo came from Krypton as a stowaway.
Oh.
Stowaway? Yeah.
In the
Prody.
trunk with Chim Chim.
Sprite on those damn monkeys.
She has Prody 2. Not really an animal, but he's in there anyway. I found a source online that had this to say about his path in life. Eventually, he left the Legion of Super Pets to become a photographer.
One of the most productive of the super pets.
Yes. Bonus question. Which super pet had a descendant in the Legion of Superheroes 30th century, and what was its name?
It's Streaky, and I think it's Streaky, and I think I don't know, something like Stripesy, or I don't know.
Okay, Wizzy.
Wizzy,
Descendant of Streaky.
That's a bad name for a cat.
Yes.
It's a bad name for any pet, really.
So the two put together has to. Come on, I got one. I mean,
She says, note, I only included this question because I wanted to hear Peter say the stupid names Beppo and Wizzy on the show.
I got to take a Wizzy and a Beppo.
I have to tell you, I've been listening to both her podcasts, I Read Comics, and Look at His Butt, which is their Star Trek one, lately while I'm working in the morning, and they're hilarious. I don't care for some of the subject matter when they're talking about Kirk's butt, but the rest of the stuff is very entertaining, and I can't wait for new episodes to keep coming from that.
Oh, she
More of a
sent.
chest man, are you?
Yeah. Female chest man. Female chest man.
Like man.
She sent a follow-up email. She says, I just realized I forgot to include one answer. For question number 1, Prody 2's origin should read, a native of a planet in the Antares system, given their shape-shifting abilities by a race called the Lorn via an evolution ray. So,
I do remember that though.
oh yeah, sure.
I do,
Yeah.
because their
I
home,
knew that. Yeah, I knew that.
their home world was quite, the environment was crazy. One day it would snow, and the next day it would rain, and the next day it would flood. So they had to, these people came down and they saw that, so they gave them the ability to change into fish and fly and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Question number 2.
Jesus, wasn't that 8 questions?
Nope. Question 2.
But at least that way you get some right, you're still okay.
Name the rejected applicants to the Legion of Superheroes who turned evil and joined Tariq's the Mute's School for Supervillain.
I want to say she's talking about the Legion of Super Rejects. I think it's like Calorie Queen, Antenna Boy. It's just insane that I know this.
When you read them on the page, they don't sound as ridiculous as when you're saying them out loud. That's the whole thing.
Antenna Boy, save me!
One of them might have been Nemesis Kid, but I don't think that's right.
No, I've reached my limit for calories.
I want to say Chameleon King.
She has 3 listed, so give me what you...
That's what I say.
Okay. Number 1, Ron Carr of Neptune.
Yeah.
Number 2, Radiation Boy. And number 3, Spider Girl.
Should actually be Radiation Roy, I think.
Oh, I don't know. She says, there were other members of the teen Legion of Supervillains, Nemesis Kid and Lightning Lord, but they weren't rejects from the Legion of Superheroes.
Right, okay.
Question number 3. Who was the first person to turn down a chance to join the Legion of Superheroes?
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Don't bang the mic.
Thud.
He's so distraught he's banging his head into the microphone.
Who was the first? Why are these all Legion going to kill her? To turn down the Legion. Who was the first one to turn down the Legion?
Had to be. Calorie Queen.
Calorie.
All those carbs.
It's an answer I should probably know.
Is that based on a 2,000 calorie diet?
I'll say Superman.
Dev M,
Oh.
another refugee from Krypton. He used to babysit little Cal. He was a Kryptonian delinquent until he reformed and helped save the Legion from Moloch the Merciless in Adventure Comics number 320. He then went on to join the Interstellar Counterintelligence Corps.
After all these questions, it really puts a lot of impact to the last son of Krypton, doesn't it?
Phew.
I can really see why they wanted to revamp him. Jeez.
There's
Well,
6,000 descendants from Krypton.
In the After Crisis, he became a Daxamite, and he actually became a very cool character because he was like a spy in the Legion world and stuff like that. But
So I don't know. I guess you got like 0.5 on that, you know.
I got that first one because I got half of the bonus and and a lot of the other ones.
All
So
right.
I think I got 1 full.
I give him
All
at
right.
least the first one.
Yeah, I gave the box 50 cents.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Lena, for an impressive
I'll say.
entry.
Jesus.
So our main topic for discussion in this episode, Peter.
Comic grading. What the hell does it stand for?
CGC.
CGC. What does that stand for?
Quality Guarantee Company, or no, Comics
Quality?
Guarantee
Comics
Company,
Guaranteed Company.
something like that.
Basically, we want to talk about the argument, the debate on slabbing comics. Yay, nay, pro, con, helpful to the industry, or just can't totally understand it.
No, no, and no. I don't like it. I don't think it really helps the books after we talked about what we talked about Silver Age books and before, that I feel that they need to breathe. And my theory that, to slab them like that, I mean, trapping that acid in there like that, I think will actually degrade the book more than actually keep it in grade. And as far as the industry goes, I don't see how it really helps the industry, because I see it's such a high price that they're selling for on eBay. Does it really do anything for the back issues? I mean, does it really motivate people to want to get more things, or is it just a fact that, hey, I got this, and look how much money I spent for it, and I got an 8.4 copy of XXX. It to me, I don't see any real benefit other than the fact if it's something you just want to have, hang on the wall, and say, look what I got, and look at it, because that's all you can really do about it. You can't even read it. So
for those not in the know, who basically you send a book to this company, they grade it on what scale I have no idea.
You can find all their grading standards and their
Oh, they
graders
do?
on their website. They advertise. They name the people. They give you names of the people who are grading, their qualifications. They have basically their standards. They're actually fairly tough. I mean, they are actually really tough
All right,
on a lot of books.
before I comment on that, you have to pay to get it graded, and then they send it back to you in a slabbed book with all the information up on top. Slabbed meaning in this big plasticky, supposedly airtight, but probably not.
It's
no, it's
not
not.
airtight.
Okay.
Not
No.
airtight. In fact, they tell you it's not airtight.
Right.
It's lightly heat sealed. That's the term for it. And they put acid neutral paper between the front cover and the back cover to absorb any of the acids in there too.
Right.
They protect books really well, actually. It's useless if you want to actually look at the book, but it is well protected if you fire a gun at it.
And then they send it back to you, and obviously they also keep a record of what books are at what numbering and what grading. And then it just becomes this thing where, at least on eBay, I see people who own slabbed comics sell slabbed comics to people who own slabbed comics. So it's like this very incestuous kind of
and their rating scale
market.
is 0 to 10, but with points in between. So there are really 100 different grades that your book can receive.
Right. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. My thing about what Scott said about their qualifications is, who sat down and determined that such a book is a certain grade, and who sat down and said, well, this is the qualifications you need for. I mean, did retailers do this?
It's the same people that qualify all the psychics.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my only issue with that. Like, I totally can see them, why they're doing that, because they want to make sure everybody knows where they're coming from. But where do they, that's my problem.
The
with
one
this
good
whole
thing that I like about it is, for the first time, because they keep a record of every book they grade. So if you send in an Amazing Fantasy number 15 and they give it a 6.7, it goes into their record. So they can say, okay, and now, of course the database is changing every day as more and more people get more and more books graded. But you can go on their website, type in the name of a comic, and it'll tell you how many have been graded and all the different grades that those books have received. So if you look at that website and you say, there are only 15 copies of Amazing Fantasy 15 that were graded, and none of them is higher than a 7. But I'm holding in my hand what I swear to God is at least a 9. It is pristine. Somehow it escaped all that my great uncle was smart enough, and he put it in a safety deposit box when he bought it the day it came out or whatever, and it's perfect. So that means that you can go on this website and say, I can sell this book for a fortune because it is the highest quality book known on Earth, so far. Of course, now tomorrow someone might beat you to it and have a 9 graded. But it gives sellers, it really only benefits sellers because buyers are getting ripped off, but sellers can make a fortune because they can say, look, I have a book that's better than all the ones that have ever been graded, so this means I can charge a higher price for it, and someone's going to pay it because they know that there's only one that's been graded, and this is the one that I hold in my hand.
I'd agree with that statement that the buyers get ripped off.
So in other words, you're saying that it just enforces the old adage of a sucker born every minute. And and to me, that's what I think CGS is. It's a sucker born every minute. It's an artificial hobby that saved this hobby. It did save it. This hobby was going down the toilet, and they needed to create an artificial means of saving the hobby and getting the money back into the hobby, and that's what they did when they created this. Nobody's going to tell me any different. And that's, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, and nobody's going to tell me any different from that. There's no reason to do it. I'm not about to buy a book like that. I really don't know anybody who does buy books like this. It's to me, it's the same mentality of the people that were buying the books off of QVC and Home Shopping Network during the boom of the 90s and bringing them into the store when I used to work at the store, and here, I want to sell this. Well, we don't want it. But I paid $100 for it. I'll give you 2. I mean, it's like it just somewhere down the road, the bottom is going to fall out of this. It just is.
I do also think it has another virtue. I just got done saying that the buyer gets ripped off. But if there's a buyer who is just fastidious about his collection, and he's putting together a run of the Avengers, and he wants a really, really, really good copy of all of the Avengers, he can, with pretty good certainty, decide how much he's willing to pay and say, look, here's Avengers number 18. I'm missing it, or I need a better copy because the one I have sucks. And here's one that was graded in an 8.3. That's a really good copy. And I don't care if I have to pay, 5 times what it's really worth because I know that I'm getting an excellent copy of this book, and that satisfies me as a consumer. If he's really a true collector who just really wants, and even maybe he'll take it home and open it up and keep it, but he just can know that he got an excellent copy of that book.
But if I'm a true collector, then why do I want to spend 5 times what it's worth? I know what it's worth. If I'm collecting it for its worth.
No, but I'm saying maybe he's not collecting for its worth. Maybe he's collecting it because he wants the best copies that he can get, because he loves Avengers so much that he wants a perfect copy of every issue.
Are you saying he's going to take it home and open it?
Maybe he'll keep it just because it's safe that way.
Because for me, it's almost like they're making comic books now trading cards. Like Jamie made this analogy before. Like if you don't ever open them, all you're really doing is just passing a book around that nobody's going to be able to read.
Well, and if you do open it, the grading is nullified then.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think each one has a serial number
Correct,
attached to it.
a barcode,
Barcode. But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if you're a seller and you're making the money off it, hey, everybody buys their own thing, and that's fine. But I would never buy one of these books.
What you said about the code, though, I mean, if you take it out of the thing and send it back, they're not going to know what it is, right?
If you send it back by itself, I don't think so.
There's no way they could know.
No, they'll just regrade it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really see a big help to it at all.
I mean, out of the 10 of us that usually are on this podcast, nobody has purchased one, right?
No.
So I mean, that to me that's a huge. I think, you know how they always say, like, 4 people out of 5 have some kind of. I mean, there's 10 of us who have not purchased one of these things, even thought about it, or has sent something in.
Right.
Now I know
I've
Shane-
considered sending one thing in, but again, I won't send it in mail because it takes like 60 to 90 days or something like that, more, and it's like, what, 30, 40 bucks per issue, whereas if you go to con, my one buddy had one done at a con at Philly, and he paid $20 or $25. Okay, that I might do for this one issue that I'm thinking of, but again, I have a regular copy of it. This is a special copy of this one Superman issue, and I would like to get it, hang it on the wall. It's in a nice little package, so sure, maybe for that, but I'm going to keep it because I wouldn't get rid of it for that. If I'm paying $20 to grade it, I'm going to hang it on my wall and say, hey, here's something unique that I have in my collection for me. I don't see another reason to do it otherwise.
Why don't you just buy a plastic frame? And
Well, I thought about that because now I saw on the one website that you had given me, they actually have very nice frames fitted for that you screw in and put it together. So now that's my other alternative. This would be just a unique thing to me,
Right,
but
right.
I like
I see
the
what
frame
you're saying.
idea better now that I have found that,
Right.
which is why I haven't done the other thing at all.
I mean, the prices, and it does kind of bug me that, Wizard and CGB, they have price guides for these
CBG.
things. CBG, I knew I was saying it wrong. They have price guides for these things, and it's like, and they purposely put on there, what an unslabbed book sells for and what that same slabbed book sells for. And it's like, who are you trying to impress, or who are you trying to market this to? I mean, if there are people out there who have that kind of money to throw around, you know what? Then do what you want with your books.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm certainly not
If
going to
you looked
begrudge
at
you
that,
that.
if you looked at that price guide and you're about to sell a book on eBay and you say, look, normally it sells for $20. If I pay $30 to get it graded, I can sell for $400. You're going to tell me you're not going to send it in and have it graded and sell for $400?
I haven't so far. And I've sold some, some of the stuff I've had I could probably
Because I would do it in a heartbeat. If there's some person who wants to pay that much for my book, hey, I'll spend $30 to make $400 any day of the week. I'll do that as long as I can and make money hand over fist.
Because
There's no guarantee that you're going to make $400 for it. You could put it on an auction and then it goes for $200.
unless you put a reserve price on.
But
Well,
still,
unless
I
you
mean,
put
even if
reserve,
I made $200, I spend $30. I'll spend $30 to make $200.
But in the book, that's going to be valued at $400. So are you going to be disappointed that you didn't?
No. If I made $170 profit, are you kidding me? I'll be happy.
But see, I think some people don't. I think the way they're playing the game is that because every single CG graded book that I see on eBay always seems to have a reserve price, and obviously that to me is like they are not going to sell that book until they get exactly what they think they should get, not what it's worth.
When that's where it's just benefiting people who are selling it, and that's all. I mean,
Right.
And again, if there has to be a market for it, otherwise people wouldn't be selling it. And if there is, that's great. And you're an entrepreneur doing what you're doing, and that's fine. But like you said, for us that we consider ourselves pretty fair, good collectors, we don't collect that stuff. We don't
Right.
buy it. We don't do it. I mean,
I
we just don't see a point.
I had two early Justice League issues. One was like issue 20-something, 28, 29. One was issue 54, something like that. And they weren't in like the greatest conditions. But I just gave it to Shane. I was like, you know what? He's going to enjoy these more than I am. I probably could have sent it away. They weren't very high grade, but still, it's like, for me, if I'm going to do something like that, I don't know.
Well, and that's the mentality we have as our group of friends and collectors is or are. That's how we are.
Yeah.
I can't explain why people would spend that amount of money on it. I sure wouldn't. In fact, some of the alternate covers and stuff that people have sold that are graded are like those retailer incentive covers and whatnot.
Right.
I've actually bought foreign copies with that same cover for like $5-6 and get the same enjoyment out of it for what I want for it without having to go through all that.
The craziest thing is seeing books that just came out 2 years ago being slabbed. That's insane.
Again, as long as there's a market for it. I mean, if people are going to spend $5 to make 10, they're going to do it. And as long as there are people who are going to buy it, there are going to be people grading. And it might be completely artificial, but until the bottom falls out, it's going to be a brisk business. That's why this company has grown so much. That's why there's such a huge backlog, because people can't get their books graded fast enough because they're making lots and lots and lots of money on it. And until those buyers start realizing that this is silly, it's going to keep
I mean,
happening.
that's my thing. If that company folds, say for some reason that company folds, what other company is going to honor that? No other company is going to go, oh, I'll honor it. No, they're going to come up with their own system.
Well,
So
they'll
you're stuck with the...
You'll go back to the same thing you did before. You'll go by a regular price guide and say, no, this near mint copy of this book is worth this much money. I'm not going to give you $800 for a book that's in near mint condition when it's in the guide at $200.
It's going to be like the great stock market crash. It's going to be like a
Exactly.
huge depression.
You're going to invest thousands in, like you said, like if you use an example, i.e. of that guy with the Avengers, and he buys the first 100 issues of Avengers all slabbed, from CGC, and then the bottom falls out. So he's spent how many thousands and thousands of dollars that he'll never get back. So it's unless you're doing it for personal gratification,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
then it's worth it.
And
That's
there
the
might
only
be
way it
people.
could be worth it.
I suspect that. I mean, maybe 1 out of 100 people buying graded books are doing it because they feel satisfied that they got an excellent copy of that book that they've always wanted for whatever reason. I mean, if I had lots more money to spend, maybe I'd go and replace all my grooves with perfect copies. Because a lot of the ones I have are beat up because I was a kid when I read them, and I read them over and over and over again. So, maybe I'd do that. I mean, I don't have any extra money now, so I'm not going anywhere near it. But I'm just saying, it's a possibility. There are people who love comics a lot. I mean, we all do. We all have our favorite run that we love to look at. And maybe we just buy them so we had a perfect version. I don't know, But we should wrap up. On that note, I'm sure we're going to get lots of emails, and please send them in, because if someone out there has bought Slab books or has sold Slab books, we'd like to hear from you and hear your motivations for it.
Real quick, I just thought of one thing about a Slab book, the autographed ones. I could kind of see if they were there and you were that kind of person that wanted to know it was official, that I could kind of see, but otherwise, I don't get it.
Yeah, but the autograph on a book like that is going to devalue it. That's the whole thing.
Right, absolutely.
No, the discussion goes on. If you would like to send us an email, send it to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com, and visit our blog at comicgeekspeak.blogspot.com, and please click the Google ads, one time each.
2 episodes ago, I did announce the Stump the Rios. It's in the trivia.
Stump the audience,
Stump
you
the
mean?
audience. Excuse me. It's in the trivia episode. I think it's like episode 54. So check that out for the 3 questions and send in your answers to win. I can't believe it's not the Justice League.
And a big thanks to Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting all of our files. Please vote for us at Podcast Alley and subscribe to us using iTunes. And if you'd like to get a t-shirt, you can do so at our blog. They are $10, and that includes postage. And once again, we're brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. See you next time.